Question posed by our friend Evan Lovett of LA in a Minute and the newest episode of his In a Minute podcast. Evan is here now with more. Before we get to your four, you have honorable mentions.
Oh man, this was very difficult because it's so important in the city of Los Angeles to establish the most important people, the most impactful people with a great legacy. And there are 100 names that could have made this mountain, but Tom Bradley, notable omission, Kobe Bryant, very difficult omission, Marilyn Monroe, Vince Scully, William Mulholland. The list goes on and on about people who did not make my Los Angeles Mount Rushmore.
Okay, so then, and you explain all that in the podcast.
Absolutely.
But now let's explain who did make the Mount Rushmore, starting with number 42 for your 42nd podcast.
Okay, so Jackie Robinson, number 42. The number is retired throughout baseball with very good reason. This man broke the color barrier in professional sports, but he's a man of Los Angeles. He went to Muir High School in Pasadena, UCLA, and of course, the Dodgers has represented his number, his legacy has represented the Dodgers for the last almost 70 years. And look, he played in Brooklyn, but his legacy in fighting for civil rights and social justice is paramount here in Los Angeles. And he spawned an entire generation of athletes. Everybody after him, from Kobe to Magic to Mookie Betts, owes Jackie Robinson a debt of gratitude. He's from Los Angeles.
Art Laboe.
Art Laboe is a good one. It's an interesting one because I wanted to have entertainers, and there's so many musicians that have come from Los Angeles, but Art Laboe really was responsible for many of those musicians, especially musicians of color. He was the first DJ to take calls from people that were African American or that were Latino on air. Think about that. They didn't even allow those people to call in to the stations. And then he was the first person on the West Coast to play artists like Chuck Berry that were groundbreaking artists. So he really opened the door. And the big thing, his legacy, was he used to have events. Radio was predated music videos and TV and all this kind of stuff. He'd have events and dances, and he moved them to El Monte because the segregation rules in Los Angeles at the time, this is pre-civil rights, 50s and 60s, said that the races need to remain separate. But he said, this is music, this is entertainment. Everybody enjoys everybody, and that is so Los Angeles and so important. And he was on air until he was 97 years old.
Also, Jonathan Gold.
Jonathan Gold is one of my favorite, near and dear to my heart, inspired LA in a Minute, inspires me to this day. First food writer to win a Pulitzer. Okay, so it's food writing, but the thing is, the way he wrote Los Angeles was in his soul, and it was in every article, and he exposed people to cuisine from different cultures in Los Angeles at a time when food critic meant sitting down at a white tablecloth restaurant and being served by, you know, fine cuisine. And he said, no, these tacos are as impressive as your 22-course French meal. And that is really a legacy of Los Angeles and Jonathan Gold.
And knows more about the culture than just about anybody in the history of LA. Real quickly, like 20 seconds for Walt Disney, which is hard to do.
Walt Disney goes without saying, a transplant, which makes him very Los Angeles, but come on, Disneyland, Disney World, 12 theme parks. He has a legacy, beyond legacy. Just put it in these terms, Disney grossed $82 billion last year and employs 220,000 people throughout the world. And their headquarters are in Burbank on Buena Vista.
And they're still laying off people. Okay, all right.
Okay,
here we go.
So my picks are, a couple of them were on your honorable mentions. Marilyn Monroe, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg. I'm counting them as one because without Dre, there may not be a Snoop. So he gets the honorable mention. Ronald Reagan and the Lakers legend himself, of course, Magic Johnson.
Yeah, and I also have Magic Johnson on my list because I think it's not just basketball, everything he's done for businesses and HIV/AIDS. Vince Scully, the voice that connected so many generations. And I was so inspired by what you said about Jackie Robinson and Walt Disney. I stole yours. All right, and before we run out of time, your son is here this week.
That's
so
right.
I don't know if he wants to run out here
Felix,
real quick.
Come on out here.
He's going to move fast, and we're going to show
him your speech.
Show your guy, Felix.
Because your dad should be on the Mount Rushmore as well.
This is my little guy, my Mount Rushmore right here. Felix Lovett. I'm very proud of him. Amazing kid, and he inspires me every day, and is actually the reason why LA in a Minute started in the first place.
You told that story on our air in the first night you joined us.
He has great hair.
Thank you.
You're a star, Felix.
So you got to check out not only the Instagram page, but also the podcast. You can follow it all, LA in a Minute on Instagram. Subscribe to the In a Minute podcast with Evan. A deep dive on all the Mount Rushmore stuff is there, in addition to lots more information about LA.
And your guys' Mount Rushmores were awesome.
And your beautiful wife, Irene, here, too.
Irene
a
is
little
very shy, but she is a daily inspiration.
Thank you for letting your husband be a part of our show.
Love you, babe.
Jonathan Novak is not shy. He'll have the weather when we come back.